Exclusive alert. Detroit just put a quiet phone call that could flip the NFC North chessboard, and almost nobody's talking about it yet. A move that smells like January football, that fixes a pain we've been living with for weeks. And that also forces another AFC team to admit what their record already whispers. Don't blink, because if this goes through, our whole secondary identity changes overnight. You can feel it, right? The whispers about depth, the rotation that never settled, the same explosive play reappearing at the worst times. That's not panic, that's reality. And when reality hits, real teams act. There's a name on the table that fits our culture, our scheme, our urgency. And the timing. Perfect. Trade window open, leverage shifting. And a front office that's never been shy about pushing chips when it actually moves the needle. Here's what we're doing today. We're going to break down the exact problem Detroit needs to solve on the back end. The profile of the player who immediately changes how we line up on 3rd and 8. Why the money and the contract timing make this particular target make sense. What a realistic package looks like and how the locker room would feel it on day one. We're also going to talk about risk because every move has it and about the very specific reason the other team would even pick up the phone in the first place. Quick pause. If you live for straight, no nonsense Lions talk with receipts, you're in the right place. Tap subscribe, hit like, and join the conversation. This is the Lions News Fan Report. And we're building a community that watches the game the way coaches do and loves it the way Detroit does. Let's set the scene. This defense is built on violence with purpose. We stop the run to earn the right to rush, and we force quarterbacks to hold the ball that extra half tick. But you can't sustain that plan if you're constantly asking your back end to play musical chairs. When corners roll in and out, communication breaks on stacks and bunches, leverage gets lost, and that one mistake on a pivot route becomes a 35-yard headache. It's not a talent indictment. It's a continuity indictment. And continuity gets fixed two ways, time or a trade. And Detroit doesn't do waiting when the window is open. Not this regime. We've built this thing brick by brick, and when a crack shows, we don't pretend it's fine. We seal it before it spreads. The tape says the front seven is giving us winning opportunities. The tape also says a true outside-inside flex corner with length, patience, and route recognition would multiply everything we already do well. So why Cleveland? Because for all the chaos on their side, that organization quietly stocked the DB room with guys who can play. They coach corners to squeeze space, to disrupt stems, to live in that gray area between clean and chippy, exactly the attitude that thrives in January. And this is where strategy meets business. When a team's season starts wobbling and a contract clock is ticking, value changes. What was untouchable in August becomes what's your offer. In October, let's talk archetype. Detroit doesn't need a high-variance gambler who lives off miracle picks and then gives up explosives. We need calm feet, clean hands, smart eyes. We need someone who can press without panicking, mirror without grabbing, and transition from outside to slot when motion forces the issue. We need length at the catch point and enough recovery juice to erase one misread. And we need someone who won't flinch when asked to tackle on the perimeter, because our edge setting demands it. When you map that profile to the league and overlay contract timelines, one name lines up almost too neatly. Young but battle-tested. First-round pedigree. Has played both outside and inside. Technical enough to handle option routes. Physical enough to muddy releases. Disciplined enough to exist in a system that asks a lot mentally. The kind of guy who, if you bring him in, lets everyone else slide back into their best role. All right cards on the table. The buzz is a pause is a pungwe. Detroit-Cleveland conversation centered on Greg Newsome. Now. Breathe. That's the name. And it makes football sense. Newsome checks the boxes. Length around 6'1", smooth in and out of breaks. Experience outside and in the slot. And the type of patient technician who doesn't open the gate too early. He's not some mythic lockdown unicorn. He's a quality corner whose strengths match our needs. He can carry verticals without panicking. He plays through the hands. And he understands how to pass routes off in traffic. Huge in our pattern match looks when offenses bunch and stack to force confusion. Why would Cleveland listen? Business. Contract timeline. When a player is nearing the end of team control and the club isn't fully committed to a long extension, smart front offices at least explore value, especially if the season's slipping and they can restock picks. That's not a tap out. That's asset management. And for Detroit, timing is leverage. You'd be buying a plug-and-play starter for a stretch run, not a lottery ticket. The premium is justified by the impact on your defensive floor right now. What does a realistic package look like? Something like a day 2 pick plus a conditional day 3 that escalates on snap counts or playoff wins. If Cleveland pushes for a player, Detroit can counter with depth at a non-premium spot. But the cleanest structure is picks. Cap-wise, you're taking on a manageable number for the remainder of the year, with the optionality to extend or tag if the marriage works. That flexibility is key. You pay for certainty later only if the tape in your building screams keeper. On the field, the ripple effect is immediate. With Newsome on the outside, you stabilize leverage rules on both halves. Your nickel doesn't have to overplay slants. Your safeties stop cheating under seams. Your pass rush earns that extra beat that turns a hurry into a sack. And the hidden yardage, those sneaky 3rd and 4 conversions on shallow. Crosser starts tilting back your way because the first shove at the top of the route sent the timing off by a frame fit with our identity? Perfect. We play with edge and clarity. We don't promise help that isn't there. Newsome's style calm press, balance hips, eyes through the route, tackle when it's thrown translates. And he's been in systems that demand communication. That matters here, where our DBs point and talk like offensive linemen. If he can walk into Wednesday install and speak that language by Friday, you've just lowered the chaos tax you've been paying on Sundays. Risk? Sure, health history matters for every corner. You live in a track stance and change direction for a living. Technique can cover a lot, but not everything. And there's the adjustment curve terminology, leverage rules, how we handle stacks and motion. You mitigate that by asking him to do what he already does well for the first 2 weeks. Play your coverage family. Don't try to be a hero, win your leverage, tackle. Then expand. Why not other names? Because truly elite corners don't move midseason unless a team is detonating the roster, and Cleveland isn't that. Martin Emerson Jr. is a stud for them and under control. Denzel Ward's price tag and status make that a non-starter. Newsome is the one who fits the Venn diagram. Available at a non-insane cost, young enough to grow here, good enough to matter immediately. Timeline? If Detroit moves, the sweet spot is before the final 2-week grind to the deadline, so you buy practice time. You want him in the building for at least one Wednesday, Thursday, Friday cycle plus a walkthrough before you throw him at a contender. That way you're playing your calls, not just hand signals and vibes. Let's get real about the why now. This team isn't hunting for feel-good stories. It's hunting for playoff edges. A stabilizing corner isn't a luxury purchase. It's infrastructure. It changes how aggressively Aaron Glenn can call games on 2nd down, knowing 3rd down won't become a flag festival on an island. It changes how we close halves. It changes how opponents script their first 15 because bubbles and arrows aren't freebies anymore. Community check talk to me. If the price is a 2nd rounder plus a 2026 conditional that upgrades if Detroit wins a playoff game, do you do it? If Cleveland demands a young rotational piece on top, is that a bridge too far? And if Detroit stands pat, are you comfortable betting that time alone will fix what we're seeing on the back end? Drop your take below, because this fan base sees things beat writers miss, and the front office absolutely feels that energy. Where do I land? I'm in it the price stays sane. Newsome isn't a magic wand, but he's the right kind of multiplier for how Detroit already plays. You're not gambling on a brand name. You're investing in fit. And yes, this is informed speculation, not a done deal. Phones ring all day in October. Sometimes it's smoke. Sometimes it's the first spark of something real. If this is real, it's the kind of move that says Detroit is done renting confidence and ready to own January.